per 9000's game room.
Okay, so this is me unboxing my Retro Trio Plus Joe and Mac edition. I was lucky enough to buy this on Amazon when it was £52. And look, here we go. There's the machine, the pad, and a box copy of the Joe and Mac 3-in-1 game. Yep, there's the game. So here's the system. Let's get this out of the bag. Yep, the front flap here. Oh, yep, there you go. Look, there's sockets for all the joypads and switches to change the console modes. Yep, you've got 3 ports here for your 3 different systems. Okay, here's the pads. You get 2 of them. Let's open it up. Oh, tied on tight here. There we go. Yeah, it feels alright. Yeah, they're okay. Power lead. HDMI lead. Oh, there's a manual. And a plug converter. Okay. So basically, this is a machine which will play NES games, SNES games, and Mega Drive games. You've got to play English or American NES games on it, but you can play SNES or Mega Drive games from any region. It outputs at 720p via the HDMI port. And it comes with 2 SNES style pads, but you've also got ports to use the real SNES pads, Mega Drive pads, NES pads. The controllers, they're not quite SNES in standard. They're not as good as real ones, but they do a decent enough job. They look a little bit cheap, but you know, they've got the SNES button layout and they've got a decent D-pad. They're quite lightweight, but they've got a nice long cable. I'd say they're not as good as the real SNES pads, but they're better than some of the third-party garbage that came out back in the day. They're perfectly usable. I can't say I'd really want to play something heavy combo like Street Fighter 2 with them, but for your bog standard gaming, they do alright. You can also use these pads through the SNES port to play the Mega Drive and NES games if you don't own pads. Obviously, if you've got the pads, it's better playing with a real pad. There is an issue that if you play with these pads though, using the Mega Drive, the C button ends up being mapped to the L trigger, which is really weird. Now, I do like that there's the region switches on this, so you can change region so it will play all the different regions correctly, but there is a slight problem. And how big this is depends upon your own feelings, but the Mega Drive, even though it will play American and Japanese games, it always plays at the PAL standard speed, which is like 15 to 20% slower than the NTSC speed. If you grew up with a PAL Mega Drive and you're used to this, it's not too bad. If you grew up playing American or Japanese games on an import machine, or obviously you're from those countries, it feels quite sluggish. It would have been nice if there'd been a switch that had changed the speed of the Mega Drive game playing, or if that had been part of the change in the region, it had changed the speed as well. This isn't the case with the SNES though. This is a much better machine for emulating the Super Nintendo than the Mega Drive. If you're looking at emulating a Super Nintendo at the correct speeds for each title's region, this bang up job. So I'd have to say it's an excellent SNES, a fine NES, a little bit of a lackluster Mega Drive. Now, I did get a Mega Drive EverDrive and try it on this, and it worked as well as it did on my own machine. Obviously, bearing in mind the 50Hz. I think it's quite a likeable system. It's nice you can sit it under the TV and have the 3 machines available to play without having, you know, machine after machine piled up there. If you're a die-hard gamer, then I probably would suggest that you get the real pads. but for coming out of the box, the ones you get work, you can see it playing. I've already reviewed Joe and Mac before, but just to touch on the Joe and Mac triple cartridge, works great in this Super Retro, it works great in a real Nintendo, and yeah, I'd recommend it. It's much better than buying the game on its own. And in this pack, certainly, it was a nice little piece of kit. Like I said, I paid £52 for this, but I think it's currently about £72 on Amazon, and I've seen it more on other distributors. Would I recommend it? Well, if you don't own a SNES or a Mega Drive or a NES and you're wanting to get into retro gaming, I do think it's quite a decent place to start. Because when you buy some of these retro consoles, you've got to worry about them being damaged and about whether your TV will take their output. And sometimes you buy a SNES, for example, and you get an RFU cable with it, and you end up having to buy a SCART cable on top, and it can all get quite costly. This thing runs off a HDMI cable, which if yours breaks, you could panland and get one. It runs off a standard USB power cable, and it's brand new, so if you had a complaint with it, you'd just send it straight back. If I had to give this machine a score out of 10, it's complicated because I guess it's depends on what you're buying it for, but as an overall score, I guess I'd give it a 7 out of 10. The reason it doesn't get higher is because there's little things they could have done. It could have supported different speeds of Mega Drive gaming. The pads and the machine itself, the plastic does feel a little cheapy, even though it works incredibly well. Okay, that's Kerr9000 signing out, saying keep on gaming.